Hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of Leading from Alignment, episode 297. And as promised from last week, the return of our special guest, Jeff Hlavin. Jeff is my best friend, and I've known Jeff since 1977. And it's just, we have, we've walked a lot of life together. And Jeff is just one of the finest Christians that I know. He is one of the finest dads that I know. And he has been an incredibly good friend to me, to my wife, Laura, and to our boys. And so we were talking last week about how to help our kids love Jesus. And Jeff, today I'd like us to switch it up a little bit and talk about how to help our kids love Jesus Church. Uh, so thanks for hanging out with me again for another half hour or so here.
Glad to help.
So Jeff, I mean, how did, I'm just going to get right to it. How did you balance the demands of your calling with being present as a father? And when I mean present, I mean not just physically present. How did you navigate that that demand or that tension? Maybe that I don't know what the right word is there. Yeah,
There's tension. So obviously time is the
yeah,
one commodity
that's
that
right.
no one gets more of. And so stewarding time becomes the biggest challenge, I think, of anybody's life, whether they're a
Yes.
pastor or not.
And the
And
older you get, the more that's true.
yeah,
Uh,
absolutely.
yes.
Absolutely. And so I would say one of the things that we did early in life, Karen and I did early in life, was take advantage of the fact that as a pastor, I had a very flexible schedule.
Okay.
And I put on my calendar, of course, this was back in the days of,
Paper
um,
calendars, right?
yes, paper calendars.
The big one on your desk. The big,
Yes, yes, and Franklin planners
yes.
and time savers, time. Anyway, Uh, we would coordinate all that at our table on Sunday night for the following week. Who need to be where? All that. Okay. But one of the things I did was plan into my calendar their activities. So I was able
Okay.
to go to every parent teacher conference. I was able to go to their basketball games, their soccer games, their school assemblies. Uh, and I put those on my calendar as set on my calendar. Now my kids always understood there would be emergencies.
Right.
They always understood that, but emergencies are rare. Uh, and I learned early on um, the famous adage, not every urgent question is important, not every important question is urgent. But it
Right.
was it was a priority with me. So if I got if Karen and I received I'll give you an example, an invitation to somebody in our congregation's 4-year old's birthday party. If that if that was in conflict with something I had scheduled for our boys, my response was, "I'm sorry, I already have a previous commitment," and that's all I
Yes.
said.
And can I
They,
stop you right there for a minute,
yeah,
Jeff?
please, please.
I love that you put a period on the end of that. It's not, you didn't go into this long 5-minute explanation of what, no. Basically, I have a previous appointment,
It's true.
period. And I love that.
Yeah. Because the rationale behind that is if you say, because my son has a basketball game, they immediately think, okay, your son has, 20 basketball games a year. He's going to be playing for many years. My son only has one 4-year-old birthday. My
Mhm.
event is more important than
That's
yours.
right.
And to them, that's true. But that's why it was a period without
Good.
explanation, without qualifying the reasons
Yeah.
why. They might have thought I was meeting with a troubled marriage situation that needed my attention. I just didn't say. And it's really I don't want I don't want to say it's none of their business. That's not the right term because that has a kind of a pejorative edge
Yeah.
to it. It's you know what it is? It's a healthy boundary.
Yeah. It's that. And I don't think an explanation is actually helpful.
No, it's not. No, it's
It's not
counterproductive.
help. Yeah. It's not helpful. And that's another reason why there's no explanation. It's not, I'm not trying to be devious.
No,
I'm just trying to be actually helpful to you by not going into detail.
exactly. And
Yeah.
so I think stewarding your time, stewarding your calendar as an outgrowth of stewarding your time and taking advantage of all of those availability times that you can have with your kids
Mhm.
because of what you had mentioned in the previous podcast is connection.
Yes.
And so that to me is the biggest issue. And so and again, my family understood emergencies. They knew, but it was rare. And they understood confidentiality. I
Hmm.
remember on a Thursday, I said, "Oh, I got to get back to the office because we really kept our dinner table sacred."
Hmm.
And it was Karen who did that at the beginning of everything because I would get busy and I'd say, "Hey, listen, I'm just snowed. Just you and the kids have dinner without me. I'll come and heat up something afterwards. I'm just going to work through, and then I got an appointment at 7." And she would say, "Jeff, come home, come home."
Yeah.
That that can wait. Even if you have to if you go back at 7 and you have to stay till midnight, that's okay. But dinner, let's keep this sacred. And we really did.
Yeah.
Remember one time on a Thursday, I said, I got to get back to the office. I've got a marriage counseling appointment. And it was Nathan said, with who? I said, Nathan. I laughed. I said, Nathan, you know better than to ask that. He goes,
Yeah.
I know, Dad. I
Yeah.
just wanted to see if you'd tell me. I said, I'm not telling you that. And we all laughed about it.
Hey, Jeff, on this note, so we're talking about balancing time demands. What about the emotional demands? Like when you had a
Yeah.
particularly heavy stretch at work, how did you find the gear that you needed at home?
I I had to be intentional about that and really compartmentalize it.
Okay.
Um, part of that's my own personal temperament and makeup. So when I'm constant, so every admin I've ever had, I told them, don't walk into my office and stand there and think I'll notice you if I'm working on something because I have an ability to concentrate. I used to get in trouble as a kid. Jeff, we called you for dinner 4 times. I really didn't hear him. I was reading or doing
Hmm.
something. So I do have the ability personally to compartmentalize. This is what I'm doing now. This is what I'm going to give my full attention to. And then that stops. So that when I come home,
Okay.
I'm able to concentrate. And I had to learn that. I was also a dumb young husband, and would come home and I would say, "Hey, Karen, how was your day?" And she'd start to tell me, and I thought she wanted me to fix it. And she
Yes.
said, "Stop! Yeah, I'm not asking you to fix it. I'm asking you to listen to me to find out
Yeah.
if you care." And it was like, "Oh, I do care. I'm sorry. I'm not going to fix the fact that Nathan wrote in lipstick on the wall and that I was already in fix it mode and we were going to go get kills from Home Depot because that'll really cover the yeah." So
Yeah.
I learned that as an outgrowth of being a good husband,
Yeah.
and then as a good husband, I came home to listen. I came home to engage. And it
Yeah.
actually became healthy for me. It became a sanctuary for me to put that other stuff aside
Right.
and
Yeah.
be with my family. Now,
Yes.
I know that's my temperament.
Yeah.
I don't have
But
a lot of advice for somebody who doesn't. Here, now let me say it this way. I think you can learn to do that.
I was going to go there.
Okay.
That that I call it pivoting,
Oh, that's good. That's
and
good.
I
I like that.
we pivot from work to home. We pivot from our professional life to our personal life.
Good.
Uh, and um, and it's harder to pivot in ministry than it is from, at least for me, from
Oh,
marketplace job. I found that much easier to pivot. In fact, by the when my foot hit the sidewalk outside the building, I had already pivoted when I worked in
yeah.
marketplace.
Yeah.
I found it harder to do that in the ministry.
Yeah.
Um,
Ministry is
but
more personal. It's
it
more
is more,
personal.
it's more personal, and yet, um, just because it's harder doesn't mean it's not something I need to learn how to do. So I had to figure out some strategy for that.
Yeah.
For me, what do I do in between work, in between my calling as a pastor and home? And so sometimes, Jeff, I go to the gym. I would, like, after work, I go to the gym, give me half hour just to kind of unravel
Sweat it off.
all the stress from the day and come
Yeah.
home happier, and ready to take on, the boys and Laura, in terms of being there for them. So I like that thought of pivoting. I would say this, and we're spending a ton of time on this first question, but I think it's really
No,
important
it's good.
that, pastors sometimes, uh, a lack of ability to be present is a warning sign.
Oh, yeah.
It's an
Absolutely.
indicator that perhaps you're pushing too hard at church, you're pushing too hard in your calling, and you're not managing the limited resources that you've been created with. Jesus created us with limitations on purpose, time
Yeah.
limitations and energy limitations. And so being a steward of my capacity, so to speak, is something that, if I want, to be able to balance the demands of ministry with the demands of being a husband, being a father, I'm going to have to get better at stewarding those resources.
And knowing yourself is really important in that. So even
Yes,
on a weekly schedule, everything you said, John, is brilliant. It's absolutely the case. Even the way you schedule your week. So
yeah,
Sundays, busy. Monday morning, I was tired. I physically I got my sleep, but mentally, emotionally, I was
yes,
depleted. I never planned to do this was after a while. Never planned to do something creative or super productive on Mondays. Mondays in the office, and I never took Monday as a day off because I would just lay around and waste it. I discovered that by practice. That was not good. And so Mondays, I would go to the office. I would do the mundane stuff. I would do the stuff that didn't require a lot of emotional energy from me, a
right.
lot of thought, thinking, unless it was an emergency, something like that. And then the rest of the week were those days were designated to do other things. I think that's
Yeah,
I had it took me 7 years, 8 years on how to take a vacation.
yeah,
I took vacations like I normally did in the marketplace. Friday night's done and we go on vacation Saturday. All the time I'm thinking I got a message the following Sunday. And I was
yes,
never that kind of preacher who was months ahead. And so I realized, no, that's not how you take a vacation when you're a pastor. You go Monday through Sunday.
yes,
And and then there was the whole week to get ready for the
right.
following Sunday or 2 week period of time. So I think all of those things you learn by trial and error as well. What's
That's right.
working for me? what's not
That's right.
working for me, and all of that's important.
Yeah. So Jeff, let's jump over the second question. I want to go to this third question. How did you talk about church at home with your boys? Especially, and I'd like to focus. I know we had talked in last week about sharing the good things, the
Yeah.
wins, some of the cool things that are happening, and I love that. But how did you handle when it was hard? Like after a hard Sunday or a hard stretch? And, as the boys got older, I'm sure they were aware, right, of some of the disturbance in the force, so to speak. Um, how
Dad,
did
I felt a disturbance in the force. Too
that's
much
right.
Star Wars, son. Uh,
How did you
Really
manage
good
those?
question. So here the if I could reframe that, how do we talk about how did we talk to our kids about problems that were going on in the congregation? And the
Yes.
fact is, we did not.
Interesting.
We did not. We didn't talk about individuals in the congregation
Okay.
intentionally. We didn't talk about situations in a negative way. So when we sold the building and we're looking for land, I would say, hey, yeah, we looked at 5 pieces of property today. None of them are going to work. Yeah, I mean, we would talk about that, but that was like information I would share with the
Mhm.
congregation and things like that. So part of our part of our understanding was this, that children had to do with the size of their shoulders.
Okay.
Elementary school kids do not have broad enough shoulders to handle adult concerns and adult
Mm,
responsibilities.
that's so good.
So we did not talk about that. As they aged, and you brought up a point, as they age, they become more aware. So elementary, when the kids were in elementary, church was fun. Hey, what'd you learn in church today? We did this, we did that. Yeah, somebody ate an onion. Okay, yeah, it was you. I can smell it. Those kind of things. Or so and so got in trouble. Oh, too bad. Sorry to hear that. Anyway, that was all stuff. As I grew older and became more aware of things, I remember conversations like this. Dad, did you know that such and such a family is not going to come to church anymore here?
Mm,
And my response was this, yeah, I know that. Well, Dad, why? I said, sometimes people need a fresh start.
that's
And
good.
and
That's
I
so good.
trust that the new church that they're going to, they'll find that there.
That's so good.
Yeah, I think the opposite would have been, oh yeah, they're rotten people, and they might have been, but and troublemakers and everything. But to go into that and to
Mhm.
denigrate a junior high child is going to take up what? The offense of their parent.
That's right.
And then it's going to be awkward for them when they see him
Yeah.
at camp or some other
Unfortunately,
youth
it
activity.
unfortunately, it's not just junior high kids that take up offenses.
That's true. That's true. It's
Right.
something, it's
Within
something to
context,
it's
it's
something
it's
to guard against always for all people for all time. You're right.
yes.
Thank you. But yeah, so now there was a time when the hardest part of our ministry, we were going through something.
Mm,
Karen had become clinically depressed,
yes.
situationally, and uh, and that was a really rough time for us as a family. I did not, we did not, Karen did not, even at her lowest point of depression. And Karen shared this, so none of this was private because she came through it
Right.
um, and became the really joyful person she always was before that. And so, but it's still a journey. It still was a journey. So we were careful not to say the reason why this is happening is because of what's going on at church. The
Yeah.
fact, the fact that Karen was depressed, it was, hey, mom's going through a really rough time now. We've got to make allowances for her. Um, all of those things. And so
Mm,
journeyed that together. Now it was situational. There's no doubt about it.
Right.
But the
Right.
kids they didn't need to think of the church as an enemy.
Yeah.
And so we were very careful. Now, there did come a point in time when one of the guys who was, well, they eventually started their own church and left with about 20
Mhm.
people. Um, he got Aaron in the foyer of the church and said, Aaron, does your dad beat you?
Oh my word.
Which is bizarre. I mean,
Right.
which is bizarre. Aaron was probably, I don't know, maybe 14 at the time. May not be right about that. And Aaron immediately came and said, Dad, why would that guy ask that? I said, that's a really good question. And it's so absurd. I said, what did you say to him? He goes, what are you talking about? My dad loves me. And then the adult said, well, if that ever happens, let me know.
Mm.
And I said, well, thank you, Aaron, for letting me know that. He goes, are you going to do something about that? I said, oh, yes, I am going to do something about that. And and I talked to the family, talked to the man, and of course the wife's shocked that her husband would do something like that. And it was all about drawing people away to start their own church. It was more than that. I
Right.
won't go into all that detail, but that was a time when I did sit with the family. We sat with the
Right.
family, said, listen, there's some things going on in the congregation, and it's making us very sad. And that's why that person asked that, because that person has some things to settle and resolve. And unfortunately, he's trying to involve other people.
Yeah.
And that's not our way of life. And that we're committed to what the Lord wants us to do, and we're going to stay the course, and all of those things that happen. So there does come a time when it starts to affect them personally, or it's
Right.
something that's major that's going to affect the whole congregation, that it
Mm.
would be appropriate. But day-to-day basis, that was rare. That's the
Yeah.
only time day-to-day basis. We loved the church. We did love the church. Karen and I did.
Yes. Right.
And of course, as adults, we know people have problems. My kids will discover that early, all along the way, as they
Yeah.
as they mature. But you still love people. You still are
That's right.
committed to their best. You still are on
Sure.
assignment from the Lord. So, um, and I've seen too many times when parents I made the mistake of
Right.
including the kids in conversations about people in a
Yeah.
congregation. It's been very hurtful to the children.
Yes. So have we. And Jeff, I've seen it be anxiety producing in
Oh,
children. And
absolutely.
um and I cringe sometimes when I hear it happening. I don't always feel I'm invited to speak into that moment. You
No, I,
know,
I
uh,
understand.
you
Yeah,
understand that? Like I
I
don't, uh,
totally.
but I think to myself, you don't understand what you're doing right now.
Yeah.
You are creating turbulence on a lot of levels for your children that's unnecessary. And
And for yourself eventually.
there you go. Well,
Because
there you go.
if you resolve that as an adult and on an
Hmm.
adult basis, they don't know that.
That's right.
They don't know
That's,
that.
that's right.
And they might
Yeah.
even think, well, what's going on? I thought that person was like this. So we have to be very careful not to paint someone in a certain way, because
Yeah.
you will then attribute every negative thing that you're aware of to that person.
Yeah. So that's super great perspective. I really appreciate that, Jeff. Jeff, we're going to hop over the fourth question because we're starting to butt up against time. I
Sure.
wonder, I believe that who our boys spent time with made a big difference
Huge.
in their life. I would tell the boys, your friends in many ways are a predictor of your future. And who you hang out with is one of the most important decisions you're going to make in your life. I would tell the boys, look at my friends. I hang out with Uncle Jeff. They call you Uncle Jeff.
Yeah. Yeah.
I hang out with Uncle Jeff, and I would list this litany of amazing, godly, incredible people. And I said, these friends have shaped my life. Um, they've helped me grow and develop, and they've been a safe spot for me when I was having hard time in life and things like that. And tried to live by example and impress upon the boys how important that was. How did you help Aaron and Nathan form the strong friendships, not in not just within the church community, but outside of the church community as well? What were some of the things that I don't even know, like uh, thoughts that you had around that or approach that you had around to nurture, helping them nurture that important part of their world,
Yeah, we told them that the scripture that says bad company corrupts good morals.
right?
Said, listen, that's true. But that's not just true for you as a child. That's not just true for you as a teenager. That's true for mom and dad. And
Right,
we use the same examples. We have good friends who encourage us in the Lord. We have good friends who will tell us when we're wrong. We have good friends and you know them. And we hang out with them. And we did a lot of stuff with families. So
right,
Roger and Vicky were close friends, and they had two boys that were the same year apart from Aaron and Nathan. So we hung out with them a lot,
right,
and other people. And there were kids in the congregation that were my kids' ages, but they weren't healthy relationships for my kids.
mhm,
And when I say that, I don't mean there's something wrong with those kids, the other kids. It didn't help them. Same thing at
right.
school. We spent a lot of money on pizza at our house because Friday night after the basketball games, after the football games,
Mm.
the youth group and Aaron and Nathan's friends were all invited to our house. And
Yes.
and they would say, "Hey, Mr. Hlavin popping for pizza." And we would buy enormous amounts of pizza and feed the group because I wanted to know them. I wanted to know who they were, what their lives were like, and I didn't grill them. It wasn't
Mhm.
We didn't have a formal sit down. It was like, hey, this, that, hey, you know this, you played a good game. Hey, what about this? I mean, we knew all of Aaron's friends at school. We knew all of Nathan's friends at school. We knew who was healthy for them, who wasn't healthy for them. And so the healthy things we'd nurture. Hey, why don't you have them stay overnight?
Right.
Or and we were I was really careful when we were raising our kids, we always wanted to find a reason to say yes to them. And if we said no, we had reasons for
Right.
saying no. Uh, and those reasons were, I don't know that they always liked how much time I spent telling them the reasons, but there were reasons. And then there was another category of yes or no or maybe. And that was when I didn't have a known reason, but I didn't feel good in my spirit.
Right.
And John, I never, in fact, I'm preaching on Sunday. I'll probably mention this in my message.
Mhm.
I never, I never used that manipulatively. It was always either true or
Right.
not. But there were times when I said, you know what? I The answer is no, but I don't have a reason for you. I just don't sense it as being good. And
Yeah.
my kids knew that what that meant. That was serious. I
Right.
never said, thus saith the Lord, but it was, and they always, every time, either both of them would say, "No explanation needed, Dad. We're
Yeah.
not going to, or we're not going to go." So
Yeah.
I think looking at that, and there were friends at school that my kids had that were good for them.
Yes.
And actually, Brett, you remember Brett?
I remember
For
Brett.
those of you
Yes.
that are listening, John and I had an epic basketball game on the driveway with Aaron, my son Aaron, and Brett, both of whom are way better basketball players, but we beat them. And then we crawled in the house and died. But I mean, I shooting baskets with my kids' friends,
Yeah.
being involved with their lives, why not? And so those were things that, and then the kids in the youth group. Just because a kid was in the youth group didn't mean they were necessarily
That's right.
um, a good match or
That's right.
healthy. So we monitored that and did the best we could to say that, that's not a great thing. Let's just not water that. Let's just
That's
not nurture that. Let's not just make time for that. Let's make
right.
time for these kinds of relationships and help
Yeah.
them.
Yeah. And so there's so many thoughts running through my head as we're coming to close here on this last question. I do think, Pastor, that in your marriage relationship, there's a level of discernment that God may give both of you or one of you,
Count
uh,
on it. Count on it.
and
Believe for it. Yeah,
learning how to respect that. And I look back and Laura would Laura grew up wanting to do the right thing all the time. And I
yeah, she
told her,
did.
you're one of
She's
the
one of
most
those.
unusual people I've ever met in my life. I
Absolutely.
was
I love
totally
that.
opposite of that.
I, I love that
And,
about her.
and the fact that I was totally opposite kind of helped me as a dad because I had an eyeball for
Yeah.
trouble because
Yeah.
I was around it so much when I was growing up. Um, but there is a discernment piece of this too. Like, I mean, Jeff,
Absolutely.
everything you shared last week and this week is so helpful, so amazing. But then there is this discerning. And Pastor, if anything should fuel your prayer life, it ought to be raising your sons and your daughters. My prayer life grew 4x because we had four boys. And we're joking a little bit, but seriously,
Oh,
there are going to be those moments, right, where you're desperate. I don't know what to do in this situation, Lord, or you've just got that check and that warning, that nudge, saying, mm-mm, "That's not good," and uh, and learning how to appreciate that as husband and wife. And Jeff, real quick, 30 seconds,
yeah.
because it just as I'm talking, a thought dropped in my head. What, talk to us just for less than a minute about United Front in your parenting.
Yeah, Karen and I were united in our front in what we did. I mean, the whole thing. Hey, Dad, can I do this? What'd your mom say? And I wouldn't take it for granted that that's really what Mom said. Oh, she's leaving it up to you. Okay, we'll talk. And oh, never mind, Dad. They pushing the limits there. We did discuss because we weren't. Karen and I have very different temperaments.
Yes.
And so now the kids make a joke of this that, yeah, they said, being corrected by mom was one thing, being corrected by dad was another thing. Mom would say, "You're grounded for 5 years." And dad would sit us down and talk to us for 20 minutes before he'd get to the grounding. And they said dad's was worse. So, but we learned to say, okay, what's reasonable with this? What's that? And we would talk and then uh, careful that they wouldn't play one against the other. The good
Right.
news was Karen's temper was more like Aaron's, my temperament's more like Nathan's. And so she would say, "This is how you should approach Aaron on this." And I could
Mm,
say, this is how he'll listen to you best."
Oh, that's
He
so
won't
good.
he won't listen to you if you approach him that way, and vice versa. So probably the
Yeah.
last thing I would want to end with, John, because I know we're out of time, is that don't underestimate the power of fun in your home.
Yes.
Part of making your home a sanctuary of peace and of being comfortable is make sure you don't underestimate how much fun can be a part of your life and how strong of a bond that could be. One last
Yeah.
thing, on Father's Day this year, I had something important to talk to all the grandkids about, and something that was biblical, something the Lord had put on my heart. And so I talked to them all about that. We had fun too, but there was about a 15-minute serious time. And one of the most rewarding things I think has ever been said was Aaron, Nathan chipped in with stuff about our household growing up, and Aaron kind of finished the conversation with this. He said, "Papa didn't grow up in a happy home, but you have no idea how much Uncle Nathan and I enjoyed growing up with Papa and Grammy. We really had a happy home." And I
Yep.
thought, mission accomplished
There you go.
there. Yeah. And
Yes.
now we get to work with our grandkids. That's
Which
awesome.
is amazing.
Ah,
It's so
oh, yeah.
amazing.
Yeah.
So Jeff, thank you for these last 2 weeks. I appreciate your time. I appreciate your friendship, multiple, many decades of friendship now.
And
And
it's vice versa, John. Love you.
yeah, it's just such uh, it was such an amazing season of my life early on to watch you and Karen parent. And so thank you for doing a great job raising your boys and being able to be on a platform like this and not be theoretical about it, but to say experientially, here's what we learned, here's what's important, here's what really matters. So if you're listening or watching today, we hope that the conversation's been encouraging to you, maybe educational in some way, shape, or form, maybe even a little challenging for you. Parenting your children, we said this last week, we'll say it again. Your spouse and your kids are the most important disciples in your life. And who cares if you build this monstrous church and you lose your family?
Mm.
Uh, it's just, it's not the right trade-off. So we want to encourage you to prioritize, to give good energy and time to the most important people, humans in your world. And our hope is that your kids will love Jesus and love his church, and they'll raise kids who love Jesus and love his church and so forth. So, Pastor, if you need help, you want to talk, we're here for you, convergecoach.com. Simply click on the start the conversation button and reach out to us. We'll give you 30 minutes of our time. One of our team members will spend some time just talking. And sometimes we're able to help you in 30 minutes and you're on your way. And it's totally free of charge. Other times you might decide you want a little more help, but we're here to serve you. We appreciate what you do for a living. We respect it. We
Yes.
realize that it is not an easy call, not an easy assignment, but there's a wonderful part to it. There's many wonderful parts to it, and then there are some parts that are less than wonderful. And so we're here to cheer you on, to pray for you, to encourage you, to coach you if you need it. And we want you to know we believe in you, and you know what? You can do what Jeff has been talking with us about these last 2 weeks. You can raise kids who love Jesus and love his church. And so that's our prayer for you. God bless you as you continue to lead from alignment.